It's that time of the month again. Yes, once again, folks, it's time for another Box Office Monthly. Now, if you haven't heard this show before or seen the other episodes, allow me to break it down. Basically, each month, out of the large list of movies, I'm going to choose between three movies in which I think will be the biggest hits, surprises, and big flops of each and every month. And then at the end of each and every month, I will go back and break it down and see if I got my predictions right. So, let's get right on into it. So my predictions for January were that the biggest hit would be Bad Boys for Life, the biggest surprise would be The Turning, and the biggest flop would be Doolittle. And I got 2 out of 3 of the predictions right that I made for this month, which isn't bad. I did better than the last month, but I still could have done a lot better. So anyway, let's discuss the ones that I got right, which was, of course, Bad Boys for Life. This was a big win for the studio, big win for Will Smith, and especially Martin Lawrence. But also, surprisingly, this was the biggest surprise of the month as well, as this is the only movie in January to exceed expectations. Early predictions for this movie was like around 49 million, and once it opened on that Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, it skyrocketed to 60 to 70 million dollar opening and just blew everyone out of the water, including me, which unfortunately means I got the biggest surprise wrong, which I thought was going to be The Turning. I thought it would do well with horror fans. Well, clearly it didn't, especially with that F Cinema score, which also means there won't be a biggest surprise talk on the show, which I usually do since there already is a big surprise, and that was also the biggest hit, so sorry if you were looking forward for me discussing the biggest surprise, but what you're gonna do. Anyways, back to Bad Boys for Life. This movie is doing extremely well. It's breaking box office records. It was the #1 movie for 3 weeks straight in a row. This is an easy win for Will Smith, especially after the disaster that was Gemini Man and the slight disappointment that was Spies in Disguise, and a nice comeback for Martin Lawrence, who hasn't been in a movie since 2011. To see you back, man. So yeah, anyways, this is a great win for Sony, the cast, the crew, and it really makes me happy since I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I'm glad to see that other people are enjoying this movie too. So congratulations, Bad Boys for Life. You did the impossible. You brought a franchise back from the dead successfully, unlike other franchises that we won't discuss here. And seeing how there is no big surprise this month, we're just going to jump right into the biggest flop, which I did get correct. And that was, of course, Doolittle. Now, as many of you are probably looking at the box office chart and saying, wait a minute, this movie's doing 10 times better than some of the other movies, like A Boss, The Gentleman, and especially The Turning. Why is this the biggest flop? Well, there's just this little tidbit. I don't know if you know this well. This movie costed $175 million to make. Shazam costed $100 million. This movie costed more money than Shazam! Jeez, Universal. First Cats with its $95 million budget, and now this? Are you trying to lose money? Granted, they do have Fast and the Furious 9 in May, and Minions 2 in July, and they'll most certainly make bank off of those movies. But still, this is a disaster. This is near Dark Phoenix levels of disaster. This is purported to be like a near $100 million loss for the studio, which they need all the help they can get right now because every single movie they released so far, like The Turning, Cats, and this, have all done poorly at the box office and with critics, audiences, and myself. This is a big loss to the studio, a big loss to Robert Downey Jr. after the amazing success that was Avengers Endgame, and seeing how a certain blue hedgehog has a certain movie coming out next week, I see no reason why this movie will most likely be forgotten and left under the radar as soon as that movie comes out. So sorry, Doolittle. You had your chance, but you didn't use it wisely. And that's going to do it for the month of January. But we're not quite done yet, as we still have another month ahead of us. So here are my predictions for February of 2020. The biggest hit of the month will no doubt be Birds of Prey. The advertising and marketing for this movie has been great. They are really promoting this movie out very well, and it's been getting a lot of positive feedback from pre-screenings, and I think the trailers have been really well. I thought the trailers made this movie look very good, and it's an R-rated superhero movie, and those R-rated superhero movies do exceptionally well, like Deadpool and Joker, and not to mention it's an all-female superhero movie, so there's no doubt that it will be a huge hit with stuff like Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel, and you combine it with the R-rated violence of Deadpool and Joker. I see no reason why this won't be a big hit, and I definitely don't see why it won't be the biggest hit of the month. As for biggest surprise, I'm going with Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, many of you are probably asking yourselves, what? This movie? The movie looks good, and people are talking about it like crazy, and the marketing is stellar. Why this movie? And yes, that all is true. The movie is originally estimated for a $20 to $30 million opening weekend. I mean, granted, the tracking has since increased by then to a much more suitable $40 million opening weekend, but the fact still stands. I thought that was way too low because the Sonic fan base is way bigger than that. Like a fan base as big as the Sonic the Hedgehog fan base would not leave their first ever Sonic movie with a $20 million opening. No, especially on a 3-day President's Day weekend. No, of course not. And I do think that it will most definitely open with that $40 million opening weekend. Maybe even $45 million opening weekend. Because, yeah, this movie looks a lot better than what it did in May. First of all, the design is a lot better. He actually looks like Sonic. It looks funner. Wait, is funner even a word? It looks a lot better. It looks like a ton of fun. The jokes actually made me laugh. And it looks like a great family comedy, and we need a good family comedy, because so far the only one that was out was Doolittle, and no one wants to see Doolittle. So I see no doubt why this won't be the biggest surprise of February 2020. And finally, the biggest flop, which I'm predicting will be Call of the Wild. Now, I'm not saying the movie looks bad. In fact, this trailer didn't really impress me, but you never know. But I do think the marketing is severely lacking. Because outside of a couple trailers and advertisements and maybe a poster here or there, the marketing sucks. And it's not being promoted that well. And word of mouth is not that great. Because I don't know a single soul who was talking about this movie or even knows this movie's coming out late February. And seeing how 20th Century Studios is now the Disney brand, I see with utmost certainty that they spent a lot of money with this, and spending that much money comes at a cost. And like I said earlier, we already have a big family comedy coming out, and that's Sonic, and I think that will push this movie under the radar. But you never know. But as for right now, Call of the Wild is my prediction for the biggest flop of February 2020. And that's going to do it for this month's Box Office Monthly. What did you guys think of this video? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Comment down below, let me know. Did you get your predictions right for January? What are your predictions for next month? Once again, comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on all social media links right there. And until next time, guys, stay sharp.